So there's a lot of drugs were found, a lot of coke, ketamine,
Right.
a lot of paraphernalia, a lot of accessories. Um,
And
is
when we
it?
first heard this story, when the story first broke, and he was arrested, I'll remind you, everyone thought this was level 5 possession, which is the higher the number, the lower the lower
Oh,
degree of severity. So everyone thought this was level 5.
they're like
But
burns, like when you have a third-degree burn, it's not that bad as like a
precisely.
first-degree burn.
Right, precisely. So over here, the lower the number, the more grave the crime, and the more serious the punishment. Obviously, is going to be attached to that. So by the time he got to arraignment, it was only at the arraignment itself when he came up there in that hearing that the world learned that this was level 2, which is a whole different thing. Now that cutoff between level 2 and level 3 is at 25 grams. So
Oh.
that 25 grams is a very key number because if you end up looking especially at a sentencing chart as to how they're sentenced, like first time offender who's never, let's assume from his criminal record that I've seen and anyone else has seen, he had a speeding ticket that he got that goes back like a year or so. But his criminal record seems to be completely clean from when I looked up his records as listed in Minnesota. So first time offender, lawyer, has a well-established reputation despite his degeneracy online over the last year or so. But he's considered in the community to be a stand-up guy. He's goes to church. He's active in his community. Things of that nature. He's a father. He has roots and he has roots like real roots, and he's living like what most people from certainly would look at as being a productive life. So now and it's his first offense.
Yeah,
So
it's like small town values, but with cocaine.
right,
That's if there was no kid element to this at all. It would just be like,
100%,
oh, he's just a
100%.
hometown guy who loves cocaine. Big
But then the
deal.
question comes in, like, if they're kids, what does everyone really want here? What everyone really wants is for him to like not be on coke with his family, taking care of them, right? I mean, that's ultimately what they're looking for, and it seems very likely that an attorney who's working for him, especially if it's a lower level offense, the lower the level. If you're distributing coke, you're not gonna get a great deal from the state. But if it's a low level offense, if it's under that 25 grams, especially, normal sentencing guidelines would have him looking at 21 months. As soon as it crosses over that 25, well, 21 months is a little more than a year and a half, it's a year and 3/4, right? Once it crosses over 25 grams, it goes up to 48 months. That's 4 years. That's a whole
Ooh.
different thing already. So that's why that cutoff ends up becoming a very significant factor. But still, as far as like if you're his defense counsel right now, right? You're stepping in there as his
Isn't
lawyer,
he
and
representing himself though?
no, he's not. I mean, look, he at the arraignment he was. At the arraignment he
Oh,
was. I mean, I've spoken to enough to know he's not going to be defending himself. That's just not going to happen.
that would be
Okay,
great for the Netflix documentary though.
that would be, oh my God, no. Yeah, next thing you know, that's imagine. Wow, that would be the utter self destruction of a man. If the next thing you know, it's like you see him on video screaming, "Grounds, grounds!"
I
Like
object. Wait, no.
it's gonna be like the second coming of Darrell Brooks, that parade driver guy. It's like self-representing himself. No, please God, no. Please God, no. So no one wants to see that. And we're not going to see that. He's going to have counsel if it ends up going all the way to trial. What he really should be looking to do is work a plea deal where it's like, look, I got a problem. I'm going to go to rehab. I'm going to go straighten this out. I'll check in with the state. You don't want my kids' lives being destroyed. I've been a great family man and father for so many years. I had this issue that cropped up in my life over the last, relatively short period of my life. And I'm really sorry about it. It's not going to happen again. You can test me and I'll go to rehab and do all this different stuff. And I'll plead down to some lower level offense, some sort of record, take a hit on his bar for the gap, his bar license, maybe get suspended for a little bit. And then basically, hopefully get reestablished as the family man that so many people originally fell in love with, and basically go out there and actually run healthy shows in a way that only Nick can. So that would be ideal. And from the state's perspective, that's also kind of a win right? If it's a tough case, which this can be a tough case for them, because there are questions as to like, well, is it April's? Is it Kayla's? Is it his? And all this other stuff. And what is the level here? And what level punishment are we getting? If they can come out like they're the heroes here, that they basically course corrected this relative, by small town standards, mega celebrity, right? I mean, in his town, in his community, he's considered. I'm sure he's considered a celebrity.
Wow,
So if they
yeah.
can help course correct this celebrity and,
Mhm.
and help him fix his life for the prosecutor's office, that's a win. That's a real win. And you're helping the kids out that they actually have their parents around because it's not just him in legal
Mhm.
jeopardy, it's his mother also. Who the hell wants to see these kids end up as wards of the state or forced to live with their grandparents the rest of their lives? Who the hell wants to see that? And why I don't understand even the biggest Nick detractor in the world, even if you hate Nick Rekieta and think he's degenerate, whatever. I mean, you have to recognize that these kids are better off in his care than they are as wards of the state. I mean, that's unless you have to be really kind of out there to say no. In the interest of the kids, let's have his entire life be destroyed. And unfortunately, I see too many people who seem to be having that notion. I don't even understand how that's considered a win for anyone.
Well, it's hard to know. It's hard to be on board with that because you don't someone on the outside's like, "Well, this sounds pretty bad. I don't know the state of these kids. I'm not looking at them." So
Mhm.
when some folks hear you say, "Well, they're better in Nick's care than being wards of the state," a lot of people would have a problem with that, be like, "Well, there's clear negligence here, and who knows for how long it's been going on." But yes, the foster system is just rife with abuse and has all sorts of problems, and luckily there were grandparents around
Yeah,
to take
thank
them right
God.
when this first happened.
Thank God. Thank God
Somebody in
that
the chat said, "Oh, could the fact that a digital scale was discovered mean that that perhaps they were selling drugs?" I think you have a scale just to know how much you're doing. I don't
drug
know.
sales I believe the next level up is 50 grams. And that's where they start getting in.
Oh, wow.
That's where they start assuming you're distributing. So at this level,
If you have
at
personalized stickers, then they'd be like, "Okay, look, you're clearly selling drugs." If you have a
right,
website, a handle, you have merch.
right.
I'm gonna be making bad jokes probably throughout. Okay.
That's okay. I will say this also. What I say here to the public is not the same conversation I'm having with Nick Rekieta. And I'm saying like, people be like, don't you're blinding yourself or stuff like that. It's like, look, if when I'm talking to Nick Rekieta, I'm not sitting there just assuming that everything that's happening is kosher. I don't have the natural relationship with him where it's like I can say to him, look, if you don't straighten up, I'm walking out of here. Be like, all right, adios. Like I know you for like 2 years, and that's not doing anything. So the objective that I have is I actually want him to get better. So like I'm not
Yeah.
sitting there
Yeah, I
saying
do
this. I'm
too.
not sitting there saying that like, oh yeah, if you're doing drugs, it's totally okay. Don't worry about it. Quite the contrary. I'm constantly screaming that. I think that the best thing that can come out of this is I hope he gets completely clean, not just of drugs, but of alcohol too. I don't want, I think the alcohol use clearly got to a level that it shouldn't, and I think that he'd be best off if he became someone who's one of these, crazy, almost annoying type of
Straight edge.
anti-drugs. Yeah, straight edge type of like, don't touch drugs, don't touch alcohol. It'll ruin your life the way it almost ruined mine. That's
Yeah,
what
how else do you come back? That's the only way your only chance of redemption. Is there a chance at redemption if the worst is true about the kid element of it? Is there redemption for him as far as that goes? What would that look like?
it's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. Because when you're throwing in that wrinkle, like what he did to his kids. I mean, is there redemption? I think that all of us like to think that there's always some level of redemption. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, and if
especially
you're willing to get clean, then that's an important first step.
and then the question, I mean, as far as like in the reality, forget about what public world says about it. Are you mean redemption like in reality or how people will
Right, that's
perceive
true.
them?
It's like the public, yeah, you're not gonna please everybody even if you're perfect and you do all the right things. It's like
Right.
it's between him and those kids and what damage is or isn't done and what they have seen or haven't seen, what they recall of their mom and dad.
Right.
Um, yeah, and that's
And that's and also it's gonna be subjective. It's so subjective. Like you remember the Michael Vick story with the dog fighting, right?
Oh, yeah.
And everyone like he became like the world's most hated person on the planet, right? I mean, like in the snap, a guy who had millions of fans had none, and everyone hated him. And he went on this whole thing where everyone felt he didn't get enough jail time. He had to basically be executed. And yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not advocating that that torturing animals is ever excusable at all. The question is, okay, so the next person who tortures animals, do you want them to feel like they're irredeemable and there's no possible redemption for this person? Would you rather him actually strain out his life and become an advocate for protecting dogs? So you
Open up a
sort of
pet store.
right, and he actually did become like a hardcore advocate as far as protecting the dogs and things of that nature. And he had a bit of a redemption arc where he actually got his career back and came back to football and had some levels of success. You'd like to think that we live in with that America is a society where people who F up, especially if they sort of fall into it in this sort of thing. This is not like he's I think even people who come to the conclusion that many of us has that he fell into drugs. Um that you sort of like to feel like, okay, how many millions of people are on drugs? Are you telling all these people that their lives are over? There's no redemption? That if you did this thing, I mean, look, if they permanently harm someone, permanently kill someone, obviously you can't fix that. But you'd like to think that a dad who maybe effed up, and even if he effed up for a year and a half, let's assume worst case scenario here. He hasn't physically harmed anyone, right? Let's assume he has not physically harmed anyone, which I don't think there's any claim that he has, right? He hasn't physically, consciously done something to him. Let's assume that there was neglect here for a year and a half. So is there redemption? That's probably going to depend on who you're talking about, and and how much NDS they have instead of TDS. 100 million people have TDS. Over here, some people have NDS. I'm not saying everyone who's against him has NDS at all. No, I think a lot of people are angry and frustrated with him, and feel disappointed in him. I'm disappointed. I'm terribly disappointed that he allowed drugs. He seems to have allowed drugs into his life, even if it's not him using it, but that just this entire thing is in his house.
Around. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna tell you I'm not disappointed that happened. But as far as you asking about a redemption arc, I mean, you
That's
tell
kind of
me.
up to them. It's private, it's like,
Right.
it's
And
kinda none of our business, I guess.
yeah, I mean, what I really just want him I really want him and his kids to have a happy life. I think the people who have NDS, I don't think they're motivated by it. I think the kids are a nice cover for the NDS for some
Mhm.
people. And this is gonna get some people really angry at me. I don't really give a damn. The reality is that I think a lot of these kids that as soon as they turn 20, 18 or 21, they're gonna basically be these same folks will be destroying them that you're the son of Nick Rekieta. You know what I'm
Oh.
saying? So it's
Mhm.
like, you're not really caring about these kids. That's not what it is. It's just that the kids give you the virtue signal morality
Right.
of like, I'm standing up for children when really, no, you're just using the kids as a weapon to punish Nick.
Yeah.
So because it's a very easy and everyone agrees that, hey, children are
That
innocent.
it's
Why the hell
bad.
are you are you,
Right.
are you harming them? So yeah, but I'd like to think, look, so again, so I'll make clear here. The fact that there's drugs in this story is something that everyone is disappointed in, right? Everyone is disappointed. Even his biggest defenders, I would assume are like, what the hell is that? Why go down that road? It's just such a terrible thing to do. And he's far from the first or the last person to do that, and I think that let's hope he has that redemption arc, not more for his kids than for anyone else. I mean, let's
Yeah.
face it, and then for his wife and for him. And let's face it, I mean, you have to have questions about his wife also. Like, is I don't think her nose is clean in all of this. Part of the part.
Love you guys. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for the comments. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye. All right. Love you guys. God, I don't even want to leave. This candle smells so good. I don't want to leave. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. Love you all. Join the Discord. Feet. Love you all. Wow. You guys are awesome. Come and get it. Bye, guys. Bye. Now I'm really leaving. Love you. Bye.